Hey there, buttercups! Imagine 19th century London, cobbled streets, gas lamps, and a thirst for beer, especially porter. This dark and hearty brew was a favourite among working-class Londoners. One brewery stood out in its production of this beloved beverage, the Horseshoe Brewery. Located at the corner of Great Russell Street and Tottenham Court Road, the Horseshoe Brewery, owned by Meux and Company, was a giant, even for its time. It was not just the size of the brewery that was impressive, it was what they had inside. The brewery housed enormous vats, towering over 22 feet tall. These were not your average barrels. Made of wood and bound by giant iron hoops, these vats held a staggering amount of beer. One particular vat, a behemoth even amongst its peers, could hold over 3,500 barrels of porter. That is the equivalent of over 1 million pints, enough to quench the thirst of all of London, it seemed. This vat was a sight to behold, a testament to the brewery's ambition and the public's insatiable desire for porter. The process of brewing was an intricate dance of timing and temperature. The air was thick with the smell of malt and hops, a comforting aroma for many Londoners. The giant vats filled with fermenting porter bubbled and hissed, their contents transforming into the beloved drink. The Horseshoe Brewery was a hive of activity, a vital organ in the city's daily life. Little did anyone know that this symbol of prosperity and merriment would soon become the source of a bizarre and tragic event. Just a stone's throw away from the grandeur of the Horseshoe Brewery lay a different world altogether. The St. Giles Rookery was a stark contrast to the brewery's affluence. Overcrowded and impoverished, the Rookery was home to the city's poorest, many of whom were recent immigrants. Life in the Rookery was a struggle, a constant battle for resources and space. Families crammed into tiny, dilapidated rooms, sharing what little they had. The streets were narrow and dark, a labyrinth of misery and despair. The air, thick with the stench of sewage and poverty, hung heavy over the Rookery. It was a world away from the sweet aroma of brewing porter that emanated from the nearby brewery. The residents of St. Giles, despite their hardships, were a resilient bunch. They formed a tight-knit community, sharing what little they had and looking out for one another. Life was hard, but they faced it head-on, clinging to hope for a better future. For the residents of St. Giles, the Horseshoe Brewery was a symbol of both allure and frustration. It represented a world of abundance that was so close, yet so far out of reach. The aroma of brewing porter, a constant reminder of what they couldn't afford, filled their days. Despite the hardships they faced, the residents of St. Giles carried on, their lives intertwined with the looming presence of the brewery, unaware of the disaster that awaited them. October 17, 1814, dawned like any other day in London. At the Horseshoe Brewery, the day's work was well underway. The giant vats hummed with activity, their contents bubbling and fermenting. Among the workers was George Crick, a clerk tasked with inspecting the vats. As he made his rounds, his eyes fell upon the giant vat, the one holding over 1 million pints of porter. Something was not right. One of the iron hoops, the very bands holding the massive structure together, was loose. It was not an uncommon occurrence. The immense pressure of the fermenting beer often took its toll on the hoops. George, knowing the potential danger, immediately reported the issue to his supervisor. To his surprise, his concern was met with indifference. The supervisor, perhaps desensitized to the frequent warnings, dismissed the loose hoop as a minor inconvenience. It was just a loose hoop after all, nothing to worry about. George, though uneasy, couldn't do much but obey his superior. He continued his rounds, the image of the loose hoop etched in his mind. The day wore on, the brewery bustling with activity. The aroma of porter filled the air, a deceptive sense of normalcy masking the ticking time bomb that lay within the giant vat. As the hours passed, the loose iron hoop, ignored and forgotten, would have dire consequences. October 17, 1814, will forever be remembered as the day of the Great Beer Flood. The loose iron hoop on the giant vat at the Horseshoe Brewery finally gave way. The immense pressure of the fermenting beer caused the vat to burst open, unleashing a torrent of over 1 million pints of porter beer. The force of the explosion was so great that it caused a domino effect, rupturing several other vats in the brewery. A tidal wave of beer, estimated to be 15 feet high, surged through the brewery walls and into the streets of St. Giles. The floodwaters swept away everything in their path, causing buildings to collapse and trapping residents in their homes. The streets of St. Giles, already narrow and overcrowded, became a chaotic scene of destruction and despair. In the cellar of one of the apartments, Anne Saville mourned the loss of her 2-year-old son, John. 4 other people were also attending the Irish wake. All 5 people drowned when the beer tsunami hit the building. The tragedy could have been worse, because the husbands and sons of those attending the wake had not yet arrived. The wave also took out the rear wall of the Tavistock Arms pub, where the 14-year-old servant Eleanor Cooper was scouring pots. She died under the collapsing brick wall. Despite the best efforts of the community to save their neighbours, the flood claimed the lives of 8 people and injured many more. Miraculously, everyone inside the brewery survived. With no drainage on the city streets, the beer had nowhere to go except straight into the neighbouring homes and their basements. The Great Beer Flood of 1814 was a tragic event that highlighted the stark contrast between the prosperity of the brewery and the poverty of the rookery. It was a disaster that left a lasting impact on the city and its residents, a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the power of nature. As the floodwaters receded, the community of St. Giles was left to pick up the pieces. Although the stench of beer did persist in the area for months afterwards, families mourned their lost loved ones, and the streets bore the scars of the devastation. The Horseshoe Brewery faced immense scrutiny and criticism, leading to tighter regulations and safety measures in the brewing industry. But amidst the tragedy, stories of heroism and resilience emerged. Neighbours helping neighbours, strangers becoming saviours. It was these acts of kindness that provided a glimmer of hope in the darkest of times. 2 days after the catastrophe, a jury was convened to investigate the accident. Unbelievably, the jury rendered its verdict that the incident had been an act of God, which meant the brewery escaped paying damages to its destitute victims. The legacy of the Great Beer Flood is not just one of loss, but also of the enduring human spirit and the strength of community. In the years that followed, the city rebuilt, learning from the past to forge a safer future. The memory of that fateful day remains a poignant chapter in London's history, a testament to the challenges faced and the resilience shown by its people.
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos, and where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits saying cheers and have a good day.